Cathaoirleach, and thank Deputy O'Reilly for raising this issue again. Minister, I agree with every single thing that's been said here tonight. I think we all do. I think there's political consensus that we have a crisis. I'm not going to bother with the tit-for-tat political rubbish because I agree with everything that's been said. Look, we're in a crisis situation in our country when it comes to healthcare. The problem now for us all is that it's like talking about the weather, and solutions don't arrive when there is a discourse that emanates, which is basically passes through people as a matter of form, as a matter of norm. And yet, in the middle of all of this, we have incredible people who are working in the service, and we all acknowledge that. They're incredible people. They're the best people you could ever meet. I have had to deal with them like everyone else in this House. All the stories you've told about people waiting, of course, when people are in desperate straits, they come to the likes of us and we try and help out. That shouldn't be the way it works, by the way, lads. That should not be the way it works. But I've had to do it myself numerous occasions over the holiday period. I suppose it's at the stage now where, as politicians representing all various different views, we need to come together and actually pull together instead of pulling apart in relation to this issue. We know what our strengths are, our resources, our people, but we have significant decisions to make in the short term, medium term and long term. And Minister, I want you to support the Sláinte Care report. I welcome what you've done in relation to the advertisement of the position at the head of it. I know you've commenced some of the reviews that have been requested as part of this. The whole issue of private practice by consultants in public hospitals is something that I was very determined about as one of the people who helped draft the report, and I welcome all of that. And that is long term, but we are behind schedule already on that. Okay? It's in the short and medium term what we're going to do. The bed capacity review is critically important. But I have to say, it's one thing doing a report, and I agree with Deputy Kelleher, it's one thing doing a report. But how are we going to ensure that that stock arrives, and quickly? And I don't expect you to wave a magic wand. It's impossible to wave a magic wand and have these beds appear. But we need to identify where we can, in the short term, bring these beds about in various different hospitals around the country where there are wards, where there is capacity. And obviously, in the medium term, we need a capital plan. And I absolutely believe that everyone in this House will support you in relation to the capital review of you getting as much money as possible to deliver these beds. There's 96 beds and a whole new unit being promised inside in Limerick Hospital and UL Hospital, which for me, Limerick's on one side, South Tipperary's on the other side. They're the two hospitals with the biggest issues in EDs in the country. But that's going to take 5 years, probably 4 years. What are people going to do in the interim? We need to be innovative and we need to find solutions, Minister. And everyone has spoken about the fact that the demographics are changing, that people have greater expectations and all of that. Two things. I mean, expectations, of course people have better expectations because they're living longer and there are treatments to everything. Lots of things that we didn't have 10 or 15 years ago. But has it come to the stage in this country where for a very simple treatment like cataracts, that people are now being told if they've double cataracts issues, aren't you lucky to get one done? That is the state we are in Ireland in 2018. That you're lucky to get one of your eyes done and don't come back and be selfish and look to get the other one done in case you could drive a car or go to work. It's incredible. And pathways, Minister. We need to change the way pathways are working across the hospital network. and across groups. If I was to make one small recommendation in the short term, which I believe could improve the situation, is that our ambulance service is under huge pressure. Now, I've raised this for years, and you know I've raised this, so I'm going to repeat it. There is no reason why we can't have intermediate vehicles operating across the networks of hospitals, transporting people from Grade A hospitals to Grade B hospitals, in order for them to have step-down facilities, or to be after-treatment facilities, or to be monitored, etc. I know there are situations inside UL where people should end up in Ennis and Nina, but there's actually no way of getting them across, because the vehicles sometimes are not available, and by the way, they don't operate sometimes as well. And that is across the country. This is a low-cost solution. It's only a small thing, but it will help. All of these will help. Where you will have people who is brought out to Ennis and to Nina, where there is capacity, and by the way, where there are wards which could be extended or opened as well. I mean, we all know what happened with Hanley. We all know what happened with other reports, where we closed down services without having the adequate services in place in other hospitals. And let's not go down the road with that with Portlaoise, Minister. We also have to ensure, Minister, we also have to ensure that the pathways between hospitals outside of networks improves as well. I had a story last week of a young boy of 12 years of age who has liver failure. He has liver failure, and he went to, obviously, through his parents to UL, and they were obviously referring him to a hospital in Dublin. And everything was to be fine, except there was a bed available for him in the hospital, but when he arrived yesterday, it wasn't available. It wasn't available. They were told to come back at lunchtime, come back in the evening, still wasn't available. They slept in a hotel last night, his family, and they came back this morning and it still wasn't available. They spent the day pulled into a service station with their child in the back seat, asleep, sick, jaundiced, in a service station for hours today, waiting and praying and hoping they didn't have to drive back down to Limerick to get drugs for that child. Praying and hoping and crying to me on the phone, looking for help to get into the hospital in Dublin. Thankfully, after a lot of phone calls, that child is in the hospital tonight. That child is in the back seat with their twin, where they go everywhere with, tonight, and their parents, praying they could get into hospital. That is not the practice we need in 2018. It is not the pathways that work in this country, because they don't work. And of all people, children. My time is up, Minister, but I have also said to you on numerous occasions that we have to develop more home help hours, home care packages. And the simple fact of the matter is, it's financially good sense as well. I'm concluding, Count Corley. Home care packages, home help hours, keep people in their homes, cheaper, more cost-effective than nursing homes, more cost-effective than €6,000 in an acute bed. This isn't rocket science. We just need to roll it out as quickly as possible. There is an issue with getting people. If there was three things I recommend to you as a long-term, medium-term and short-term solutions, so, Minister, because you have to come up with solutions. I believe long-term you need to put in a huge amount of investment, obviously on the capital side, in IT, because in the long term it will save. In the medium term, the whole rollout of home care packages needs to be absolutely enhanced, quadrupled. And in the short term, will you please look at the whole issue of transportation? Thank you.
Deputy Gino Kenny, please.
Thank you, Minister, when unacceptable becomes acceptable, then we have a major problem, not only in our health service, but in society. And I know you have said over the Christmas period